Empathy isn't softness. It's not politeness. It's the brutal strength to feel everything and still choose not to become bitter. This episode is about empathy, the fourth core virtue of Aevitas. We're going to dismantle the myth that empathy is weakness. You'll learn what real empathy is, how it turns you into a weapon for good, and how to practice it without being consumed by it. Because in a world addicted to outrage and armor, the strongest ones are still the ones who can feel. Empathy has been branded as soft, but that's a lie sold to make you choose distance over depth. Empathy is not about agreeing. It's not about excusing. It's not about being nice. It's the ability to stand inside someone else's pain without losing yourself in it. It's feeling their fear, their grief, their rage, and holding your ground. Most people avoid empathy because it's heavy. But here's the truth. Empathy is emotional weightlifting, and most people are too weak to pick it up. The sub-virtues of empathy. Self-awareness. Before you can hold space for someone else, you need to understand your own internal world. Otherwise, what you call empathy is just projection. Self-awareness means you know when you're reacting. You know when you're mirroring pain that isn't yours. And you know when to pause instead of pouring. Most people skip this step. That's why their empathy becomes emotional bleed. But real empathy starts inside. It's internal discipline. Perspective taking. This is the act of seeing through someone else's lens, even if you hate the view. It's imagining what it feels like to be them, not just intellectually, but existentially. It doesn't mean you agree. It means you understand the logic of their suffering. You don't need to excuse behavior to understand pain. That's not weakness, that's empathy. Emotional stability. Empathy without stability is like trying to rescue someone drowning while you can't swim. You have to feel deeply and stand firm. That means no rescuing out of guilt, no solving out of discomfort, no collapsing into someone else's chaos. Empathy isn't about absorbing someone else's pain. It's about refusing to look away from it. Empathy isn't passive. It's work. And it takes real strength because it demands three things most people run from. 1. Emotional exposure. To be empathetic, you have to open yourself. You have to risk feeling what someone else feels, and that's terrifying. Because it threatens your own sense of safety. But if you can't sit in someone's sorrow without shutting down, your strength is an illusion. Empathy costs comfort, but it buys connection. 2. Moral imagination. Empathy requires imagination, not fantasy, but the moral kind. The kind that lets you say, if I had their story, their history, their trauma, would I be any different? That's not moral relativism. It's radical perspective. It keeps you humble when judgment tries to creep in. 3. Boundaried compassion. Empathy isn't martyrdom. You don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Real empathy walks the razor's edge of compassion with boundaries. It says, I care enough to feel this with you, but not so much that I'll abandon myself in the process. That's not weakness. That's empathy. How to cultivate empathy without burning out. Practice intentional listening. Listen to understand, not to respond. Most people are just waiting for their turn to talk. Try this. Listen until the other person says something you don't agree with, but still understand. That's the empathy gap. That's where you grow. Journal. Borrowed lives. Pick someone who frustrates or confuses you. Write from their perspective, not what they did, what they felt. Why did they shut down? What were they protecting? This builds your empathy like deadlifts build your back. Under tension. Regulate, don't absorb. When you feel someone else's pain, you don't have to carry it forever. Practice breathing it in. Acknowledge it. Then let it go. You are not a sponge. You are a witness. And witnesses don't crumble. Empathy without self-regulation isn't noble. It's self-destruction. What kills empathy? Emotional numbness. If you suppress your own emotions long enough, you lose access to others. You can't feel someone else's pain if you've buried your own. Empathy dies in numbness. Wake yourself up. Outrage culture. Outrage is addictive. It feels powerful, but it's a shallow substitute for actual understanding. Empathy says, I will stay in this discomfort longer than my anger wants me to. That's not weakness, that's empathy. Misused empathy. Empathy without discernment becomes manipulation. People will weaponize your care if you don't set boundaries. If your empathy always costs you, it's not empathy, it's a wound. If empathy always drains you, you're not practicing a virtue. You're reenacting a trauma. Here's your challenge this week. Think of someone who's hard to empathize with. Write down 3 things you don't know about their story. Then ask, what might they be protecting? You don't have to excuse them, but you do have to stop dehumanizing them. That's the work, that's the practice, that's empathy. Drop a comment. Where are you struggling to feel empathy, and what story might be hiding behind the behavior? And subscribe for the final virtue next week. Courage, because empathy without action is nothing. As always, stay strong and live your ethos.